Howdy, this is Mackenzie Franklin from SideGame LLC here in Colorado Springs, Colorado, with an organizing video on Kingdom Death Monster. Now, Kingdom Death is a gigantic campaign game where you're going to be taking out these nightmare creatures in this nightmare world. Now, before we begin, this is the core game with all gameplay content added, all additional expansions, promos, etc., all in this base box. Now, this does have a small caveat. The miniatures are not in here. The miniatures are very fragile. They are in display cases. This is for all content. So if you are to play this, it's easy to open it up, get it started, but you'll need to have the miniatures prepared somewhere else. This is for the box itself. Now, in addition, I would recommend not getting rid of the insert this game comes with. The insert is pretty great, but here is the best way to use it. So without further ado, let's continue. So we open up the box, we can put that to the side, and inside we can see we have some of the pieces for expansions. So this is for the Flower Knight. We've got the initial book on the left side. We have the expansion book. Now this you can get done at places like Staples. You can bring in all of your expansion content and ask them to bind it for you. They'll put a nice spiral on it so you don't fray those pages. Nice hard plastic on the top so the pages remain protected, and they can alphabetize it so it's very easy to find what you need here. And if you look at the sides here, everything is also color coded. So I'm not trying to spoil anything, but you can definitely get that taken care of. I strongly recommend it. It's really nice to just have this as a whole booklet for all the expansions. So when the new stuff comes out, it's very easy to just print out another one. Or not print out another one, but go and ask for another one. In here, we have 2 additional books. We have the base gear in one book. These are the small coin collecting pages. In addition, you can put additional component and rules on the sides here. So like we have the Vignette of Death for the lion, or the Devoted Union card for bonding, things like that, the strain system. But these will have all of your pieces here. If you go onto the Kingdom Death site on Board Game Geek, you can find these little gear explanations. They have all the requirements to build each of the items, and you just simply store all the items in one section. So it's really easy to flip through here and be like, okay, this requires this. I'll show it a little bit more closely. For example, you've got the bone sickle here. It requires bone and leather. And then you have the innovation requirement as well, where you find it. And they also have these nice tabs that you can use to help organize. So this is all the base game gear. And on the right side, we have another book, and this is all the expansion gear. So the expansion gear, same way, you can put some of the extra rules in there. You've got here the Vignette, extra boards, and then you've got a lot of the pattern cards, promos, all separated into whatever need be. So that's for the expansion gear. You've got the board. This not only acts as kind of a barrier between the binders and the books and the cards so that nothing gets crushed, but it also will carry the monster sheet in here. So I forget what it's called, the AI command board. And on the other side, if new players need it, it comes with the Survivor's Act as well as the survival actions. So that's all that. Now, you don't have to use this board for gameplay. We actually use a mat for ours, but it's still really nice just for that support. And in case you don't want to bring the mat with you if you're taking it to go. On the left side here, we have a single page from a 9-page portfolio. This has all the current strains that you're trying to unlock during the game. On the right, you'll have the current settlement sheet. And then we have the current loadouts of survivors that you're using. Now, it's very easy to make this. You simply cut the bottom half, or not the bottom half, the bottom fourth of 4 of these 12-page sheets that hold the gear that you'll find in those binders. I just use the Ultra Pro brand, the coin collecting pages, and you simply slide in the gear you're using one at a time. That way you can easily just place it down, and that's your character's gear grid. It's really nice. It's really easy to just bring out, put it all out. Great stuff. In addition, over here you have different dice sets. So you can prioritize them by color. So like all the green characters things, all the blues, we got red and we got gold. So those are the 4 main colors that you use. Gold is brown in this case. But I have all of their components bagged. They've all got their own set of dice, easy to just throw to each person. In addition, if you go to Etsy or to GameCrafter, they have these Kingdom Death tokens that you can use for survival tokens. I strongly recommend those. They do speed up not speed up the game, but they allow you to track things a lot more easily to know what options you have available, and so you don't forget anything. So really great. I really like those. Underneath that, we have some more landscape and some pencils. So we've got pencils because everybody's going to be modifying their information. We've got the different landscape tiles. These are the large ones for some of the expansions. They go on top of the extra dice. So if somebody wants to change the color of dice they're using, you've got all the different varieties here to choose from. Got the standard black ones as well as all the special holiday dice. After that, we have over here, we have more different landscape tiles. All these are terrain. So we've got things like the grass, face masks, not face masks, the giant stone faces. Everything will fit in here. Luckily, the small statues for the tyrant are small enough that they will slide under these small square ones. So there's a lot of room to fit everything nice and snug there. As you can see on the sides here, I actually have something set up to prevent squishing of the cards. As you can see, there are these dividers on the cards. You use them to organize the different areas so you can easily tell who's who. If you just let them, without these popsicle sticks on the inside, if you just leave them in there, the books on top will crush the cards and the board will crush the cards. So I put these here so that when you place the board on top of it, it stands. So you can use something simple, like I use sticky tack on the bottom just to keep them in place in case they ever need to be moved, but they've been here for years now and I haven't needed to touch them. So they keep them in place nice enough, and they let you, without any obstruction, get the rest of the cards without being a nuisance. So really nice there. Next, we go into the card rows. So if you look here, every single card for the expansions and the base game are all here, including the other gameplay expansions. This includes strains. There is a small thing to notice though. If you look here on the side here, you're actually going to put masteries, so the weapon proficiencies and the tactics cards from the knight expansions. So I put those in the side because they're easy to grab if you do use them and they're not as obstructed. So those go nicely there. Everything else is the monsters and the universal cards. Everything you use most games I put on this left side just so it's easy to chunk them out when you need them. You can bring them out like that. Really nice. Next thing we have here are the settlements and the settlement events. So on the top here, you've got all of the survivor sheets. I use the Fiddlesticks survivor sheets. So very solid. I really like the way that they've laid out them here. It's really easy to track, a lot easier than the base game. So there's a lot of modification here. I've got the settlement board. That way you can track it. Generally, I like to put a die on here. That way we're not actually using the hunt or the settlement board. Just easier that way. As you notice, there's no hunt board in here. It's because we don't really use it. Once again, it just takes a lot more time to set that up. So generally, I'll put them on the showdown board, the hunt event cards. Next thing here, we have the plumery, blacksmith, all the locations that your characters currently have unlocked. Underneath, you have the settlement event deck, the one you're currently using, and then everything underneath that are locations you have not unlocked, or locations not in your game, for example, like the throne or the sun, things like that. So depending on the campaign you're playing. So those all go nicely in a stack, and they fit in that middle slot. And just like the landscapes over here, they're actually covering a bunch of the tokens. And then here we have lots of room for lots of tokens. And here we have room for the square landscape tiles, so the small squares. You've got room here for the damage counters, right there. And then, just like I was talking about earlier, we have those tokens from Etsy or Board Game Crafter. These allow you to track what survival actions that you have. So these are obviously not for this campaign, those are for the Sun campaign. You have the universal tokens, reroll tokens, things that you may be using based on the monster or abilities you have. You've got the status effect conditions here, so you've got like strength and accuracy, lots of cool stuff to choose from here. And on the right here, we've got the kind of 2x1 landscape tiles. They're priority target because you will use that frequently. And then we have this fancy red die, and if you know what that is, awesome for you. So a lot of cool stuff here. This is the main organization. And like I was saying, there are some things that are not in the box. And normally I will set those aside. If you want to use the hunt sheet, there should be room in this main area. that you can fit because of that popsicle stick area. If you need more space under here, you can also elevate it by adding more popsicle sticks to kind of raise that surface up. But I would recommend keeping this insert intact. I do not recommend getting any third-party inserts. The wooden ones are nice, but they're definitely not needed. This game is a game that you kind of want to show off, and if you just keep the game content in here and show off the rest, I think that's the way to do it. Now let's go ahead and, oh, I forgot to mention this one here. The last section is this one here. On this side, you have the innovation cards. These include innovations that you have not developed yet. You've got a separator for extra sleeves, just in case. You've got the priority target token reminder, and then you have, on the other side of this divider, essentially, you've got the monster controller marker, your current supply of gear cards. You've got all the other innovations that you've unlocked and the weapon proficiencies and patterns you've unlocked, your current innovation deck that you're pulling from. So it's really easy to just pull this out and like dunk. And you've got all the stuff that you've unlocked on the right side and then the stuff that you will be unlocking on the left side. So it's really easy to get going in this game. Now that being said, let's go ahead and do the pack up. So once again, we're going to take the settlement event cards here and we're going to put them in the middle. The settlement events and the settlement locations. We're going to take the settlement record sheets, or your survivor record sheets. You'll take the settlement record sheet and just place it to the left here. You'll take the, you'll take the pattern cards and you'll put them on the left here. Sorry about that. Had one fall out on me. And then on the right side, you're going to put the dice that you have for each character. You'll have the pencils that you'll be using to mark things during your sessions. You'll place your current character loadouts. And that's it for the bottom layer. Then you'll take the board and you'll place the board on top of those popsicle stick areas. You'll put the binders on the sides here. You'll place the books and you'll want to position them towards the center because the binders slant a little bit. And because the expansion book is a little bit smaller, you will take the Flower Knight areas and you'll put them here like this. And that wraps up the organization for Kingdom Death Monster. If you have any questions about how I organize this or what things I use, a lot of this is just the organizer it comes with, and some popsicle sticks and lots of page protectors and some silly putty. So I recommend Ultra Pro page protectors. You could find them on Amazon very cheaply. Use the coins for the gear cards and use the 9 cards for the strains that you're working on, the strain milestones. But other than that, that wraps up this video. Thanks so much for watching. Side Game Strong.